Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tuned and Inspired. Today, I'm going to talk about channeling a little bit more because the previous channeling video absolutely raised concerns and questions from people in the community. We're here to talk about that some more. So as mentioned in the previous video, which I will tag below in the description, there is a fundamental universal law of honoring all life. And so it is just my understanding and belief that that would include not violating somebody's life. I don't believe that people are particularly contracted to have another separate entity or being enter their vessel, enter their body. Now, there might be certain circumstances, such as walk-ins, where that is something that is contracted, but that vibration of that soul coming in is agreed upon in advance, and that being is housed in this body. And that other being that was once there goes back to source, or goes back to the original source that they are from, whether that be an energetic collective consciousness, striving for the betterment of humanity and on their own mission. And so there is some divine intervention that can look like that, such as walk-ins, but these are definitely pre-planned before an incarnation. And the reason why those happen is because a human being's physical incarnation is so important to an entire process that if that being at any point in time said, I don't want to do this, I don't want to be here, I want out, and that was expressed enough, then it would be agreed upon that another being would come and house that vessel to continue that particular mission, because it is so critical. And if that individual then, say, for example, unalived themselves because they just hadn't had enough of the density and the darkness here on this planet, then that would be very detrimental for many other key players that are here for this critical time on planet Earth. So in that instance, there are such things as walk-ins. Now, when someone says my walk-in was a liar-in being, and now I'm a liar-in being, this is where I want to argue that that's actually not the case. I would like to argue that perhaps you allowed your vessel to be accessed by somebody that doesn't actually have the highest vested interest in humanity, that they are a service to self, beings, and entities. All right. A lot of walk-ins won't be parading around saying, I'm a walk-in, I have gifts, I know what I'm doing. I would almost say that that person has allowed a being or an entity that they did not have an original agreement with to walk into their vessel and to participate in this play out of roles, with not the highest integrity in mind. They are service to self individuals. Okay. So I just want to warn you that I'm under the impression at this time that there are spiritual teachers walking around and saying, I've had a walk-in, and so I have wisdom that no one else ever had. And I actually didn't know before. The old me is gone. I am now this new me. And that is not something that a contracted human or a soul would want to announce upon replacing another soul to resume a contract, to resume a life path and a plan that is critical for Earth's mission. Okay, there is a big difference there. And so the same when it comes to channeling. For me, channeling is taking into your vessel the energy, frequency, consciousness, being, whatever it is, of something else that is not you, which is entirely unnecessary. Now, I want to point out that in history, we have certainly had plenty of channeling examples and teachings that were extremely powerful and useful for all of us. For example, even in the Old and New Testament, we had plenty of stories of prophetic channelings that were very beneficial and helpful for people at that time. Throughout Europe in history, oracles were sought after for wisdom and understanding for people and their issues, and there's all kinds of myth stories and legends involving oracles throughout Europe as well. Not only that, but when we look at other channeling that we are aware of, such as Nostradamus, he channeled images of history that were yet to occur. So he was in essence channeling this information as well. Trance shamanism, like going into trance, and in ancient shamanic peoples, they utilize this in order to embody a different consciousness and a different intelligence, in order to bring that intelligence and consciousness and that information to people for survival, for health, for wellness, for information in general. Edgar Cayce as well, he's known as the sleeping prophet, and he channeled lots of diagnoses for people that lived at a distance and knew their ailments and whatnot. And so, we have all of these examples of what can be done whenever we access, maybe perhaps in a channeling format, some information. Jane Roberts and her channeling of Seth has been, really pivotal in the spiritual community, as well as Carla Ruckert, who channeled Ra. And then we have the law of one, spoken by Ra. And so we have so many examples of how channeling has really helped us as a human, as a humanity, given us information when we needed it. However, I do want to stress that some of this channeling, I imagine that majority of it is very much truth in a highest frequency light, and that there will be a percentage that is either misleading or hiding information that we should otherwise have. And I would say that we are evolved as a human race to the point where we do not need to channel anymore. We do not need to ask a separate entity or being to come into our sacred vessel and then have some sort of level of control of our body, where then we have no control or prior thought to even form sentences that come out of our mouth. Now, that is something that I just do not recommend for larger reasons. And one of them being that would be a direct violation of a sacred life form, and all life forms are sacred, and the service to others beings honor that. They would never come into your vessel. It is the same as having that Ouija board out, right? And so you're opening up this Ouija board, you have no terms and conditions, just anyone come on through and push this thing around and show me and give me messages. And that's exactly what happens, is that typically you'll find that the individuals who are there for that are not going to be of the highest integrity. They're going to be service to self individuals or souls or entities or beings. The more I'm learning about this, the more I'm just blown away by the fact that I myself listened to a lot of these channelers. I was fascinated with this topic. Like, how are they doing this? How crazy cool is that? You can get higher consciousness information by simply stepping aside and stepping to the back seat and allowing another being or entity to come forward and come through you. How incredible is that? And this information has been useful for us in our understanding of who we are, what this planet is all about, what we're supposed to do here. This information is definitely helpful. But I will say that a lot of these lower frequency or consciousness beings that are service to self will come through other people like this. And that person has no way of determining if this is the same energy that they had before. They have no idea. They're opening themselves up, and then there's a whole army or team of dark beings that are rubbing their hands saying, me next, I got this one, I got another message for them, and never truly giving us the full story, never truly giving us exactly what's going on, who we are and what we're capable of. Never really giving it to all of us. And in fact, enjoying the attention and the accolades as a way of receiving all this louche energy, connecting with all of these followers and making this person famous. And this person, of course, as well, is enjoying the fame and recognition and this amazing skill that they have. And so they're maintaining it as well. And I want to say that it is not okay anymore. In fact, if there is such thing as somebody accessing wisdom that they otherwise would not have by channeling, aka bringing an energy into their physical vessel in order to control them and direct a message out to people, then that means we have access to it too, because we are all one in everything. Everything is energy and nature. And if there's wisdom and intellect out there and knowledge, and we're seeking it, we can absolutely access it. And so here's what I would say. I would say, no more channelers and following channelers and what they're saying, because they're going to tell you a little bit, but not all of it. They're going to mislead you on some aspects as well. It's just how it is. It's unfortunate. It's something that I've struggled with as well. And I know that like I use the word channeling all the time, very loosely, like, oh, I just channeled this. And, like there are ways that we can understand channeling. One way I see channeling is taking that energy into your vessel. And the other way that we describe channeling is just receiving something, right? Receiving a hit, a download, a zip file, however it comes in, but it doesn't have to come into your body and then, assume control of you, where you step aside and allow something else to come in. To me, that is very much like very close to what others might describe as a form of demonic possession. I was not raised Christian. I do not really gravitate to that terminology for that reason. I feel like it's really abrasive and it's an us and them and it's divisive. But I do find it similar, like let's bring this person or this entity or being into this vessel, and then you can operate with that instead of fully being you. And we don't want to lose ourselves. We don't want to open ourselves up as channels to anything when we do not know what it is. Okay. So what I would say is that the best thing you can do absolutely is to channel your higher self, channel your essence of you, not some other entity or being. You are powerful. You have all the wisdom of the universe within you. You do. And the minute that you believe that and stop looking outside of yourself for the answer, that's the minute that you assume self-integrity, power, and you value yourself as a spiritual being. Okay. That is one thing that I certainly want to say. So I wanted to do a part 2 on the channeling topic because I had a lot of people contacting me and telling me that it was a hard pill to swallow, that they never thought of it in that way, that they still really, are curious about channeling and they think that some of the messages are really enriching and helpful. And of course they can be, but if it's something enriching and helpful, then go do your own channeling of your higher self. Never ask for another being to come in with you. And you have to trust what you get. How do you think that these folks did it on stage? Trusting what they were getting and letting go and just being okay with it, except that they set the intention that the separate being is going to come through, right? Whereas we would set the intention that our own higher self is coming in, and we can ask ourselves questions that we want to know. We can channel our higher self. So how do you do that? With your intention in a meditation, you first ground down, ground into the earth to pull up her support and her love. Trust me, when you connect with Mother Earth's consciousness, you're going to feel this powerful love and unwavering support. It almost brings tears to my eyes every time I connect with the consciousness of the planet that we're on. And then you pull that feeling up into your heart and let it mix in with your own energy. Right? Let it surround you like in this orb of this protective Mother Gaia energy that you now are pulling up into your body with your roots that are down there or your cord or whatever it is. You also want to open up your crown to receive, because you're going to receive more of your own energy body. Now, we are very much a large energetic consciousness. Our human life right now is a fractal of it. It's an experience of it. So if you can imagine that the human body is your higher self, and this is one expression, and then there are many different variety versions of you on a hand, and you're just like the fingernail. You see what I'm saying? It's like that. So it's really I don't think it's actually energetically possible to bring in your entire higher self into your vessel. However, you can pull in more of your own higher self with the intention of doing that. And so with opening up your crown after you establish your safety and doing your energy checks and clearing your room and grounding down, you open up your crown and you receive that consciousness of your higher self with intention to pull in more of your higher self, remove any blocks and barriers to accepting and allowing more of that higher self consciousness that is me and I, and that is all. And no other beings or entities are permitted to get close to me or enter into my personal space that are of a lower consciousness, only my higher self ever. Okay, so that's what you do first. And then you just get back into your heart, and then you start to ask yourself some questions. And the minute that you get an answer, it might come as a vision, it might come as a thought, it might come as a word that dropped right into your head, like you said it out loud to yourself. It might come as a knowingness, or you might just start to understand what you just maybe have a knowing, like you suddenly just understand something that you didn't understand before. It is really difficult to explain unless you've had these experiences. It's very subtle. You will know that it's you bringing in your higher self if it is subtle. That's why it's so easily dismissed, right? Things that are big and loud and booming and flashy and showy, that is not an energy you want to work with. That is not your intuition. That is not your spirit team. That is not your higher self. That is a lower frequency or lower consciousness life form being big and showy. Look at me, because it wants your attention, because then it wants to start making you trust it and see it as maybe a new spirit guide. And so I would just really stress the highest discernment. I think that we are in an age now where we are calling for more discernment. It's ramping up out there. No more channeling. Don't bring other beings and entities into your vessel, please. No. I question walk-ins. Really? A walk-in? Mm-hmm. And do you know where that walk-in's from? And why do you think it's a higher consciousness being and not how do you know it's not? It's safe. How do you know? Is it part of your higher self? Have you had engagements with this being for a long time and established a friendship and a relationship and a trust bond with over time? I would highly question anybody who says I have a walk-in. That is a major no. That is meaning, so you allowed a being into your body and you got out of the way for good. That's what that is. And you're okay with that. That's okay with you. I don't need to go anywhere. I have all the wisdom of everything inside of me. Oh man, I just wish I had somebody to talk to about this. That's why I make these videos, because I'm like, we've got to talk about it. It is not okay. And if this is triggering for you, I completely understand. I had a really hard time with it because I was reading the Law of One from, channeled by Ra or whatever. I was looking into the Seth books. I was following spiritual teachers who said that they had a walk-in. I thought it was fascinating. What's going on? Well, let's talk about it. What the heck is that? Is that okay? No. It is not with integrity. It is not with the highest frequency consciousness. It is not with respect to life forms, right? Can you imagine? Oh, I'm going to fix this one. This one's not doing good. So I'm going to put my energy into it and animate it for it because it clearly doesn't know. Absolutely not. Instead, you would probably rather teach it by modeling what could be done from the outside. Imagine it's like putting your hand in a puppet and saying, I'll fix you. I'll make it better. I'll make you do it better because I know better. That's like a really bad parent, right? That's like not good parenting. Like, don't do that to your children. Like, I will make you do this. You can't make anyone do anything. And we know that because we have to express sovereignty of body, sovereignty of spirit. And I'm not going to put my hand up a puppet and make it do things I think that should be done or should be said. Absolutely not. Why doesn't Daryl Anka just ask Bashar to instead show him or tell him in a dream, don't come into his body? Why? And all this time as well. And so the reason why, let's just talk about the reason why this is happening for a minute. Okay, the reason why there are beings, higher intelligences, entities that are happy to come into a human vessel, to animate the human vessel and speak through the human vessel. Yes, it's real. Yes, it's possible. Yes, people do this. The reason why they would like to do it, especially with individuals that they can see the timeline for it and can predict that this individual will have a strong following and get a lot of followers, hundreds and thousands, maybe even traveling the world and doing it on stages. If they predict that this person is a good candidate, then they will then initiate that with that individual. And they are doing this because whenever they are in this space of either attaching to or within a vessel that is a human, that human is gathering all of the attention to them. Each follower that is listening, watching, and hearing everything and following this spiritual teacher is has an energy leak that is going towards that spiritual teacher, and that spiritual teacher is housing these lower consciousness, higher intelligent beings. They are intelligent, but they're just lower consciousness. They're not vibrating at a consciousness scale that we should be aspiring to reach, such as our higher spirit team and our own higher self. And so this energy of attention, of focus on an individual is sending energy to that individual. That individual receives that energy, and then it becomes louche energy, whether that energy is of adoration, it is of maybe anger or disgust, hate. All of those things work just fine. That is all energy, that is food for these lower consciousness beings. Okay. And so I do want to say that some of these channelers are harboring an entity that is intelligent, but represents the dark, whereas we want to work with the light. And that's what I want to say. And so that's why this is happening, because it's a good way to get food. It's fun. They can manipulate people, bypass free will, break the rules of the universe, and then feed themselves and have a whole bunch more come in and enjoy the feast. And so that's something that I am playing with as well as a concept. And so that's why you feel a draw and a pull to some of these, spiritual teachers, because it's like, oh, they have the answer. It's outside of me. I know that. So I have to go look outside of me for this answer. And they have the answer, they say. They're going to tell us the answer. Ooh, I want a front row seat. And that's what we do. Because I believe that as a humanity, we have also been tampered with. We have also been manipulated. And this is going to get extremely weird. Let's get weird. Okay. I'm allowing it to get weird. We need to let it get weird. Why do human beings have a habit of looking outside of themselves for wisdom? Let's start by saying that first and foremost, we are raised right out of the womb of wanting to, go to school, sit at a desk, look up at the teacher, be quiet and listen and do as I say is the first thing that children are taught. The minute that they are able to go to school, the minute that they're put in front of a TV to just watch and listen and not be with themselves and to find out, learning with themselves. The whole environment and the structure of humanity is such that we are to look outside of ourselves for the information around us, how to stay safe, what to know. Here's a book, read it, and here's a teacher, listen and watch. And so we're conditioned to do this because of our, slow manipulation and conditioning process that is being a human. And then on top of that, we are numbed out with toxins and pollutants in our environment, in our water, in our air, in our food. And these are not extreme. Like this is not a lie. It is extremely important to recognize that we have heavy metals and toxins and pollutants in all of the products that we find on the supermarket shelf that we use to clean our home, to clean our bodies, to eat. Okay. All of them have a massive amounts of toxins. And so we're putting that in our body. What is that doing? It's numbing out our own teacher. Our body is our teacher. It's numbing it out. We can't even feel it anymore. We're so riddled with toxins and parasites. That's why healthy eating and cleansing and drinking lots of water and focusing on gazing at the sun, all these activities are helping us reduce the toxic load, connect back in, and expand ourselves a bit more, because we need to start feeling. We need to start feeling our own body, not giving it away to a walk-in or to a channeling experience. We have to honor our body so much and feel deeply, because this is the vessel that we're wearing right now. And it's got all the wisdom and knowledge with us, right? It represents us. And so that's what I want to say, is that's really important, as well as I have heard, I know some words out there about human early history And the fact that there were a race of beings that came to Earth, and some might call them the Anunnaki, and how they were wanting to mine certain resources from the earth. I heard one person said it was gold, and it was actually their food. They had to eat it. And so there was a lot of gold coming out of planet Earth, and it had to be mined. And they didn't want to do it themselves. And some of the members of their race and their family refused to do it. And some of them left because they disagreed. And so the ones that stayed behind took the life forms that were on planet Earth, us humans, and manipulated our DNA to make us a little bit more, maybe perhaps like up-leveled, intelligent, and more, closer to them, perhaps in appearance and in ability. Make us a bit more intelligent, but also make us so that we can worship. Turn off any idea that we are powerful, because now we have this amazing DNA and we can do stuff with it like them, like they can. But now we have to worship, because then we would never revolt. We would never kick them off the planet. We would never catch on, because we would have this worship gene that was spliced into our DNA, and it's carried forward with each generation. It always has been. Right? And so now we know with DNA, with epigenetics, we can turn some DNA off and we can turn some DNA on, right? And so we can absolutely stop this terrible conditioning and habit of looking outside of ourselves for wisdom and knowledge. Now, there are certain examples that I will share of people who do awaken you, right? Like you have a friend who's a little spiritual and she says the right thing. You have another friend who picked up a book and she's not really spiritual, but she's like, here, you read this book. And then this book ended up being another pivotal point. And so it's really zigzaggy. And the act of like following one teacher for years and years and years, I would almost express a great deal of caution. Now, it's okay to have a mentor that you have a trust and a rapport with, perhaps, but it is not okay to follow a very famous spiritual teacher for a long, long time as your sole source of wisdom and knowledge. Please continue to look out there, and also continue to look into yourself so you can be activated by other people to get little pieces and nuggets of wisdom, because your higher self is actually going to lead you around, like over here, over there. And then you're going to be like following this weird rabbit trail of wisdom that's leading you to what you're supposed to be doing here. And so it's just following the natural flow and not staying in one spot, being rigid in your understanding and beliefs and thinking to say, no, just this person. This is what I need. And so it's, I don't have all the answers, but I do really like to discuss these topics and to really come to understand them in a better way so that we can be better spiritual, explorers on our journey of understanding who we are, of understanding the world, of understanding our relationships. And it's an ongoing thing. That's what we're here for. And we're also supposed to have fun and enjoy it, and not put ourselves in harm's way by throwing away our sacred vessel for another being or walk-in or consciousness or entity or whatever it is to have a party in our body and to show us how it's really done, because that was a direct manipulation of our sovereign free will. And so that's why I wanted to make a part 2 video, not only just to talk a little bit more about some of the things that come up and really expand on them, but also just to give you a more concreteness of, well, then what do we do? What you do is you go directly within. You go directly within inside yourself, in your heart center. Imagine you go right inside your body. You just ask your questions and you're going to get them. You're going to start to practice that. You're going to start to really hear yourself, and you're going to start to really get accurate information that's going to blow your mind. So that's what I would recommend. All right. So please let me know what you think of this. Let me know what came up for you. Let me know if you disagree as well. That's all right too. This is a spiritual community, and I'm open to all healthy dialogues to debate some of these points. And I would like to know if this has changed something that you thought of before, or if it's helped you in any way. And I will be doing more videos on how to have a true sovereignty in the spiritual community, how to have discernment, how to identify false light, how to identify, what is a psychic attack and what are dark entities. And these are things that are deeply interesting to me at this time, since I have had a recent run-in with this and an experience with it where I had to get healing. And as I have healed, I have also done a lot of research and talked to a lot of people and got some very real and very scary realizations about what's really going on in the spiritual community and why we need to have, the top discernment and conversations around this thing. So please stay in touch and let me know what you think.